And more than 29 million people registered to vote in that election today. Internet users across Tanzania have reported some sites, including WhatsApp and Twitter, are being restricted as millions of people are at the polls. So President John Magufuli has governed Tanzania for decades. His main challenger is expected to be Tundu Lissu of the biggest opposition party, Chadema, who survived an assassination attempt. This is 3 years ago. In all, 15 candidates are running for the presidency. SABC News correspondent in Tanzania, Daniel Kidjo, joins me now. Dan, a very good evening to you. Thanks indeed for your time. So the polls have now closed. I understand this at about 4 o'clock. And I know already there are allegations of fraud. Talk us through that.
Well, indeed, the polls have closed, and Tanzania has finished the exercise of casting their ballots for choosing their next leader for the next 5 years. We know that President Magufuli himself did go and place his vote this morning in the capital city, Dodoma. Chadema, the opposition presidential candidate,
also went and cast his vote in the afternoon in Singida, as well as the presidential candidates Maalim Seif for ACT in Zanzibar and Hussein Mwinyi for CCM. Now, as you did hint that there have been complaints from obviously the opposition party claiming that the government has been not following democratic procedures and following the electoral process to make the elections free and fair. The government, on the other hand, maintains that it is in the light that it is following constitutional parameters of making sure that all citizens are safe, and that even whenever there have been squabbles between citizens and the government, it's all in the intention to protect the people, because some few people are instigating violence. So there are two perspectives to this whole issue.
That's right. With those two perspectives, has there been any word from the National Electoral Commission, though?
Yes, indeed. The national elected from the obvious opposition, they have accused the government of ballot box stuffing and toying with the boxes and the votes. This evening, after the closing of the voting process, the National Electoral Commission chair refuted those claims, saying that there have not been any reports that were officially documented to the commission, and saying that also they were representatives of the different parties within each of these polling stations. So again, two perspectives competing for the highest seat in the land and to control and change lives for the next 5 years.
Well, what has been the general sense on the ground, Daniel, in Tanzania about how the election was handled? Perhaps, from different groups as well, not talking about, the political parties or all obviously vying for top position, but the general sense on the ground about how this election was handled.
The general feeling is really split between the perspectives of either the opposition, if you're watching it through the lens of the opposition, or if you're watching it through CCM, which is a ruling party and has been in power since 1961. In Dar es Salaam mainland, here we were around the city and visited different polling stations. There were, I think, enough security. We saw police guarding and making sure that no violence occurs. But obviously in places like where opposition is strong, there were more opposition followers of opposition parties who came out to vote, and maybe perhaps the lines were a bit longer. So it's really spread between the hot zones in different parts of Tanzania and, maybe the cooler regions where there were not as many lines and as many people.
All right, so I guess, many would like to know, when are the results expected?
So according to Tanzanian constitution and the Tanzanian electoral process, the winner of the presidential seat is found through simple majority. So the person with the highest number of votes from the citizens becomes president. Now, considering that this could be Tanzania's, is Tanzania the highest numbers of voters, 29.2 million Tanzanians had registered to vote. Now, if they indeed, even 80% or 90% of those did indeed go vote, usually it would take at least 2 to 3 days, although the law allocates about a week to get the result within a week. So within the next 48 to 72 hours, many Tanzanians will be waiting to find out who would be president, who would become their member of parliament, and also who would become the leader of their local government.
Daniel, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll catch up with you once those results, of course, start trickling in. And once that announcement, of course, is made, we'll definitely chat to you once again in Dar es Salaam. Thank you very much indeed. SABC News correspondent Daniel Kidjo.